everyone, and welcome back to the Inspire series. Before the break, I was talking with Bassey about mental illness. So let's go back to our discussion. So you were in New York, and you were diagnosed when you were in New York, right? And now you're in Nigeria. And obviously you talked about your doctors, you talked about having access to therapy, seeing 5 doctors in a day. What has been your experience with having mental illness in Nigeria?
It hasn't been great.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. The medication here is very, very expensive, so I actually get it sent from the States here. It's only $1 a bottle with my insurance in the States. Here it's like, gosh, I don't know, it's expensive. So that's been an issue, being able to stay on task. I'm actually trying to deal with that right now.
Okay.
Therapy is next to impossible. Like, I just sort of gave up on that. I spoke at a mental health conference in Lagos, and I met doctors, but they said that there's only about like 20 or something therapists, registered therapists in Nigeria.
In Nigeria?
The entire country.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the entire country.
Why so few?
Because it's not a legitimate practice. It's not. People don't really take it seriously here. They think you should go to your pastor or your mom.
Okay.
People don't really see the value in it, and of all countries, Nigeria would definitely need, more therapists. There's just a lot of pressure and
a
stress
lot of things to deal
here.
with.
A lot of things that people are dealing with, and they definitely need, that objective ear, that person who is committed to your well-being but doesn't have a bias towards or against you.
And it's qualified to handle the issues that you're experiencing.
And it's qualified.
Yeah.
And I think people don't really put a lot of importance to that. It's important. It's very, very important. I feel like people, even if you don't have a mental health diagnosis, I feel like you should go and see a therapist because there's so much going on in the world, so much going on in this country, there's so much going on in your personal life, and you need that objective third person who will lend an ear, and unbiased ear. That's the thing. There's no agenda. There's no trying to get you to do A over B. They just want you to be okay. Therapists have a difficult time here because people have their own biases. They feel they won't open up, even if they're in a closed, private. Okay, this is ethically, I can't share this with anybody unless your life is in danger, or somebody else's life is in danger, or a child's life is in danger. This is private. People still hold back, and they don't, give the full story. So it's very difficult to diagnose people with anything here.
Sorry, do people even go to therapists? Because just like you said, if something is wrong, they take the person to church and have, the pastor pray or something, or, they give the person maybe traditional remedies. So maybe that's another issue, that not enough people are even seeking these services.
They're not making, the money that a therapist in the States would make because of the stigma. People don't want, even if people have found it within themselves to go see one, they do so in secret. So a doctor that I spoke to from Abuja said that he'll see a patient like 1 month and not hear anything for another year from them, and so it's not consistent enough for them to really get the help that they need, and it's because of the stigma. They don't want people to find out, or they'll say, oh, my mom or my husband or my whatever found out that I was coming and they told me to stop, which I ask people, like, if you had malaria, for instance, and your mom told you not to seek treatment, you would think that she was crazy. You would that's absurd. I have to make sure that I'm okay. It's the same thing as far as I'm concerned, and I feel like when people sort of hear it and relate to it, and relate it to physical illnesses, they sort of understand a bit better why it's important for treatment to be made or to be had or sought out. But yeah, the therapists here have a very, very difficult time. I had a difficult time finding. I just gave up. I was like, it's not really. I'll figure it out.
So that's what I want to ask you. So you're having difficulty accessing drugs, drugs that you need for your illness. You're having difficulty getting to see therapists or counselors or whatever the case is. So have you had any episodes since you've been back?
Yeah,
okay.
I've been here 9 months.
Okay.
I've had 3. First a couple months, about a month or 2 after I got here, and then about 6 months in, and then like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
So what do you do when these episodes come?
Try. A big part of it is letting people know.
Okay.
As much as I've dealt with my illness and my circumstances, and I understand it for myself, being here has been very difficult because I'm aware of the stigma, and I'm aware that a lot of people don't really understand. And unless I can sit and have a conversation like this, where I'm able to explain it fully, if they just hear it in passing, I'm aware of the connotations, I'm aware of the juju, accusations, I'm aware of the, oh, she doesn't go to church, that must be what, I'm aware of all these things, so I'm a lot quieter about it than I'm used to being. And it's almost as, almost like a survival tactic. It's almost like in order to sort of protect myself from those things, I need to sort of silence myself, which I don't love because I'm not a very silent person. But at the end of the day, self-care is the most important thing. And if it's going to be upsetting or difficult to have a conversation with somebody and have them not get it and it's frustrating, I'd rather just not have the conversation and figure out how to deal with it on my own. And I've figured out like a couple of people that I can talk to and say, look, I'm not having a great time. Can you come by? Can you stay with me? Can you, check in on me in about a week? Can you, I'm able to do that. It's tough here. Like I tell people that in order to survive here, period, and then to survive here with an illness on top of that, it takes a lot of work. It is a constant challenge for me. Because I have to make sure that things that stress me out don't take me too far down that rabbit hole where I can't sort of see myself out, or I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's tough. It's very, very tough. So I don't envy anybody who has to start and end their treatment here. I grew up abroad, so my understanding is a lot different. And I know that I can't just tell somebody, you need to see a therapist here. It's not going to work. You have to sort of make them understand why it's important for them to see somebody, why it's beneficial to their health and to their sanity and their stability to seek treatment. You almost have to trick people sometimes. And a lot of disclaimers and caveats. It doesn't mean this. You can still do that. It doesn't mean this. You have to sort of walk them through every aspect of it. I've also met people who've just jumped right in and taken full control of their mental health, as difficult as it is, because they understand just how important it is for them to be okay. At the end of the day, I feel like Nigerians, we tend to feel like suffering is good. So when I say to you, it's okay to feel good, and it's your God-given right to be healthy in all aspects of that word, they're kind of like,
they don't understand
I need
it.
to suffer in order to get to heaven or whatever they're taught. It's like you don't need to suffer. It's not natural to be in turmoil, and that's really like I've had to fight people to give them permission to feel and understand that feeling is okay. We tend to put up these walls very, very quickly and don't realize that a lot of the ways that we act out and the way that we treat other people and the way that we treat ourselves has a lot to do with how we are functioning mentally.
But then I'm interested to know what these people say to you. So what do they say to you when they meet you? Do they tell you about the experiences? What exactly is the conversation?
I think because of my personality, people share a lot.
Okay.
And because of what it is that I do and what it is that I've done, like career-wise, they want to know how it's possible to have an illness that is potentially as dangerous as this is and still be able to, have a career or a family or, relationships or, all these different things. And it's a lot of work. I can't just walk into situations the same way somebody else would. I have to be very, very strategic in the way that I approach things. But it is possible. It is all possible once you take the reins and once you get in control of this thing that is out of your control.
Okay. So talking about balance, a lot of people, especially mothers, have to balance so many things, so many tasks. And you're a mother as well. So you're balancing having a child, all the responsibilities that go with that, and you're also having to, balance yourself more than a normal person or a person without a mental illness, would have to. How do you cope with that?
I have a lot of support.
Okay.
My family is amazing. And, my brothers and my sister, as well as my parents, have really, since day one, sort of stepped up and said, okay, how do we help her deal with all that she has to deal with and raise this child? And we've all been raising him together, my entire family. That's why I'm able to be here while, you know, he's still there. I feel like I got the kid that I was supposed to have. You know, like he's not a clingy child. He never was. If he sees that I trust you, he'll go to you. He's like, all right, I'll see you later next week. Cool. You know, like we have that kind of relationship, and I noticed very early on, like when he was very, very small, that when I was going through like a depressive episode, he kind of knew. It's so weird. It's so weird. It sounds so like corny, but he knew, and he knew. I remember when he was 2 years old, I actually was hospitalized.
Okay.
I went and said, look, like I said, a week from now, things are going to get bad, and I need to catch it before it gets bad. There's too much I have to do. So I went and voluntarily checked myself into a hospital so I could sort of stable. I was there for just a week because I was like, I know what I need. I know what it has to be done. Let's just get this done. I need to get home. And we were able to do that efficiently. And I remember my sister telling me that she came to her at when he was 2, and he said, Mama's sad. And I was like, oh, it like broke my heart. I'm gonna cry. Sorry. It just broke my heart because I was like, it's not the child's responsibility to take care of the parent. And I know that through my work, I've met a lot of children of people who had illness, and they've always felt like they needed to take care of their parent, and that their moods or their emotional stability was based on their behavior or what they did. And that's too much for a child. And I never want to put that on him, which is another catalyst for staying as healthy as I possibly can. And then also being open enough so that he knows, and I know, that if anything happens, he can't be 8 years old staying up all night and me not know or ask or inquire or see if he needs something more than just, you know, regular mother-child bonding or TLC or what have you. So I think that it's helped me as a parent because I don't put too much on him. I think that a lot of parents, especially Nigerian parents, put a lot on their child's shoulders, and I let him be a kid because I know that if I don't, he's going to sort of seek this sort of role where he's responsible for things that he shouldn't. He's not a little man, he's a kid, you know, he's a child. And so I want him to allow himself to be a child as much as possible. And that means taking care of myself as well.
So does he know? Does he know that, you know, you have a mental illness? Is he aware? Or does he just, you know?
Not really.
Okay.
You know, he knows that I'm not like John's mom or whatever, but I wasn't like that anyway. When he was a baby, we were touring together, so he gets that, but he's too young to like have like the words for it. But he does understand that every once in a while I pull back, and he's good about. He'll just come and give me a hug. He says, I just want to say hi. And then he'll like, you know, he'll go away, or he'll just come and just like lay down next to me and play with his PS2 and just allow to like let me know that he's there. And so we kind of have that thing sort of worked out pretty well.
Okay,
yeah,
that's really sweet. That's really
he's a
sweet.
good kid. I'm lucky.
You've written a lot of articles on mental illness, and you've kind of like become a face for it, almost, especially in Nigeria, where very few people talk about it. Why is that?
I like my face. Very good face.
It is a good face.
Thank
it is
you.
a good face.
I wanted you to say that. I think it's important. I tell people all the time that the difference between me and the madman walking down the street, you know, dirty and disheveled, is that I have support and I have treatment and I'm able to take care of myself. That's the only difference. Like it really is when you go down to the bottom of it. So if I'm able to sit, you know, with my shoes and my dress and my makeup and my hair and say, I have this illness, people are going to look at it differently, and people are going to listen to me when I talk about it. I'm very, very aware of what outward appearances do and what kind of doors they open. So I'm able to have the conversation with people who wouldn't stop and talk to the guy, you know, downstairs of their building who's homeless and clearly has a mental illness. They can talk to me and they can listen to me talk about it. And I think that the way that I felt like I was the only Black person or the only person after a point to have that, I don't want anybody else to ever feel like that. I want them to be able to say, you know what, Bassey has that. And I'm privileged to have a platform, you know, before the diagnosis where if I write things, people will read it. If I say something, people are going to listen to it. So it's my obligation to talk about it. It's not easy. People take it wrong. I've had my share of heartbreaking situations where people just don't get it and they don't want to get it, and I've had to sort of make a decision about that person being in my life. But at the end of the day, I know that as much as I needed to hear someone say, me too, I feel like that too, somebody else needs to hear it from me, and they also need to get to it fast so that they can get on with their lives and live the life that they're supposed to live.
Okay, but aren't you afraid of people thinking that you're attention seeking? And also, especially in Nigeria, in New York, it's a bit different. But in Nigeria, there's a lot of social stigma attached to it. Aren't you worried about any of that?
I'm not worried about people thinking it's attention seeking, because people do everything in the name of attention, and I'm in entertainment. So at the end of the day, everything's about attention. I want people to pay attention to what it is that I'm saying, exactly, and what it is that I'm doing, and I'm very strategic about some of the things that I do or don't do and say and don't say in order to get this message across, in order to get my point across. And the biggest point and the biggest message is that despite this illness, I'm still capable and able to live a life that some people would envy, at the end of the day. Not that I want them to envy my life, but I've lived a full and good life. And I've had an illness to deal with on top of that. So it's possible to continue to live and grow and experience all the things you want to experience as long as you take care of yourself and take care of your health.
Mental illness as an illness in itself is very different from other types of illness. So for example, I was reading somewhere where someone was saying someone who has cancer is called, a cancer survivor or a cancer patient. It's not, but someone who maybe has schizophrenia is called a schizophrenic. But someone who has cancer is not called cancer, that sort of thing. So is there a way that we can start to talk about mental illness that removes the stigma?
Yes. I think that changing the language is very important. I'm a writer, so language is very important to me. My NGO, the Seaway Project, which is mental health awareness in the global Black community, our motto is, it's not who you are, it's what you have. You have an illness. You are not the illness. You are who you are despite the illness, sometimes because of it, but that illness itself is not you. I also don't say I suffer from. People say, oh, she suffers from. I'm not suffering. I'm doing all right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not suffering. I live with this illness. I have this illness, but the illness doesn't have me. And I think it's very important for people to know and understand. I'm very careful about the language that I use, and I'm very careful about the way that I discuss things so that people understand that the way that you sort of present something is the way that you're sort of judging people by it. So to prevent that, I present it, so.
Okay, but then apart from changing language, what else can we do to begin to disassociate the stigma that comes with?
Be kind. At the end of the day, it's all about being kind and empathetic to somebody else's illness. If you notice that there's something wrong with somebody and you notice that they've withdrawn somehow, or their physical changes to their behavior, or if they're doing things that are dangerous, a lot of the hypomania sort of goes into dangerous behaviors. And if you notice that that's happening, be kind. Are you okay? I tell people that you say, how can I support you? Because that sort of forces an understanding of what's going on with the person. If you say, are you okay? I'm fine. How can I support you? That sort of says, okay, there's support. And there's just, I have to find another way to answer that question. It's just not off the cuff. And it allows people to really delve into and look into themselves and see what's going on with them. So it's kindness. People tend to be very dismissive, very cold, don't really seem to understand and don't want to understand. And it's one thing to be ignorant of something. It's one thing to be purposefully ignorant of it and then go out of your way to be harmful to somebody who needs your help. And that's what I hope to prevent by allowing the illness to be seen a different way, in a way that forces compassion as opposed to contempt.
I know for sure that you're doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for being here today and for talking with me.
Thank you.
Well, guys, you really heard it all from Bassey. Be kind. It really is that simple. The next time you see someone that needs help, show some support. It doesn't take anything from us. And if you're someone who's experiencing some of the things Bassey mentioned, seek help. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to reach out to someone and tell them you're not okay. So next time, it's been me, Gloria Dozian. Thank you for watching.